welcome Martin Mcnicholl, my friend in the Facebook world and beyond. I'm so excited to have you on my podcast, and I just want to free flow. Um, please tell everybody a little bit about who you are and how you came to be in this moment.
Well, I'm very happy to be having the first Jill Butler experience for this one. So thank you for having me. And I love the name. It's so cool. So yeah, thank you for bringing me out of the wilderness. I've been for a couple of years kind of under the surface on the internet, off the internet, and just about I don't know, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, I can't remember how long it is. I've sort of come back uh, online, so to speak. You're never gone, but yeah, it was fully on the internet for 2 years, and yeah, I'm just back now. It's like we talked about like a biography. It's so hard for me to say what this is. All I can say is, it is, I am, and it just appears in the moment. It just appears in the moment. And these 2 years that I've had on the internet in the wilderness, it's been a dissolving of the I, the me, the personality, and it's just been more and more. It's like death, rebirth, death, rebirth, death, rebirth, and I've just been surrendering and allowing whatever wishes to presence and become, and yeah, challenging journey, beautiful journey, but we're here. I don't know. We could just we could just let what appears appear. I've got nothing to say about this one until I do.
Well, I love your presence. Um,
Mm,
you really, you embody so much light and you embody so much surrender and authenticity. And I think what I'm trying to do with the space that I create is I want to offer up different individuals. Like I've had Todd Medina on multiple times, and I offer up space for people to be able to like literally just surrender to what they feel is important in their now moment and to discuss, to just tell people their journey. Like you don't have to go back into too many details because we're
yeah,
in this moment right now. I just feel like it's really important for people to understand when they're starting to awaken and they're starting to understand that there's more to them than what they see in the outside world. It took up there was a process to get there, and
yeah,
everybody is going to have to find and understand their own process. And I feel it's so important for us that are doing this work, that we're having, pages, we're having podcasts, we're putting stuff up for people to witness, that we all like share, the ups and the downs. And like one of the things that I enjoyed about listening to that last one that you did with Todd, because I did listen to that, and I really liked the fact that you guys were talking a lot about the shadow, and you were talking about how you had to go through a lot of shadow because it's not all just light. Because a lot of people in this world of spirituality, you know, it's all about this light, and there is a lot of light, and light is important, and we're always focusing on it. But we have to understand that darkness is a teacher too. So,
absolutely.
yeah, I don't know what you have to say about that. If you want to share a little bit about some of the darkness that you went through, just to give somebody else some feeling of, oh, well, I've gone through that, or I could go through that. I could manage that.
So how many podcasts have you got?
So far I've done,
No,
yeah,
I mean, how much time have you got? Because
well,
you,
that's funny you should say that, because before I came on today, I was thinking about it and I was like, you know what? I think me and Martin have a kinship. We got some Irish energy connection. So maybe we're going to continue and have collaborate some sort of, monthly thing or something where we could catch up with each other, because I feel like you have so much to give and I'd love to be a platform for that.
beautiful. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm up for it. I'm up for it. I'm well up for it. So, okay, let's get the condensed version. The reason I asked is because if we talk about this, I could talk forever about it. So we'll get the real condensed version. So
Yeah,
yeah,
sounds good
this
for now. We'll get
this
the
boy
condensed version.
Yes, as condensed as I can make it. So this body was born in Northern Ireland in the late 70s, very late 70s. And so born into separation and the political religious war that was going on there and still actually goes on, but it's just you don't hear about it. So I was born into this separation, born into this battleground. Um, and it was perfect. It was but when I look back now, but there, a lot of trauma is generational trauma, a lot of darkness as we call it, a lot of war, a lot of violence. And so what I realized looking back at that now is growing up through that, you become, well, I did become completely desensitized to violence, desensitized to murder, to war. Like it was a
Wow.
daily occurrence, and it was just what was always happening. And I remember again, it's with hindsight, and when you're in it, you have no idea. I was completely desensitized to violence, to war, to people getting killed, and so you're born into one side or the other. Uh, just as it happens anywhere, if you happen to be born on the other side, it would be the opposite. So you just happen to be incarnated on this one side, and that meant you're in that community. You go to that church, you go to that school. It's divided the whole way. I mean, it's
Oh,
it's
wow.
it's different now. It's not as divided now, but it's still there, and it hasn't changed a whole lot. But so you're divided right up until, if you go through the school system and depending on where you live, like cities are divided, towns are divided, schools are divided, and I saw that, yeah, I got completely desensitized to violence. It was just nonstop, and to say, like my father's generation went through much more of this. This is my experience of this would have been much less, but still the generational. And when you come on sensitive and open like we are, I didn't know that at the time. We're really sensitive to the generational stuff, the field of what's going on. It doesn't have to be literally happening in front of you. So that led to one of our, I always talk about our greatest exports from Ireland is our people and our pubs. So our people leave and go across the pond to where you are. A lot of them have and did over hundreds of years. And our pubs, so alcohol. So around the age of 13, I basically my parents had a pub, an Irish pub for 16 years. So I grew up in a pub, basically.
Wow.
I grew up in an Irish pub, so I was always around alcohol, I was always around drunkenness, I was always around all of that. So by 13 years old, I was getting into that. So 13 years old, so 13 to 33 was my dark ages. So, and beautiful things as well, I want to say, but I had 20 years of addictions from 13 to 33, alcohol, and all sorts of drugs, everything that I could get my hands on. I was on a constant search. There was an empty hole, and I was a chameleon. I was like socially anxious. I was always trying to find something, find that thing. So alcohol was the one that was a real challenge for me. The drugs as well, but alcohol was the real, like, really, really damaging, I could say now, and I can see it in a much deeper way now. What the effect that alcohol is so much more than what we can maybe talk about that. It's not a popular one. It's so much more than just the physical and mental things. But so I had a long journey of addictions in that way. And so this year, actually this month, only a few days ago, was my 10-year soberversary, 16th of March,
Woo!
2014. Yes. And so that was the biggest shift of conscious shift of becoming sober from alcohol was the biggest catalyst for everything that's appearing now. Nothing, well, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here. I know that for sure. I would not be here if it wasn't for that decision. Um, so yeah, 20 years of that. But in the middle of that dark ages, there was a really interesting thing that happened. So we're born in these two communities, enemies. There's this side and that side. And it's quite topical now because if you were born into Catholic nationalist, there would be Palestinian flags. And if you're born in loyalist British, there would be Israeli flags. They have that affinity.
Wow.
You
Okay.
have that,
Okay.
you still have that. So they would identify in the same way as that sort of thing. And the Basque country in Spain, they have these affinities. And something that happened when I was around 20, I think it was. So the community, the other side's community, the other side, it would be dangerous, to go there. You just wouldn't go there. There's places you just wouldn't go. And what happened to me was I fell in love. My first love was a girl from the other side. So
Oh,
this,
Romeo and Juliet. I love
yeah,
this.
yeah. And this was the
Wow,
first,
that's the
I mean,
story.
I mean, it was a very dysfunctional relationship. I'll tell you, like I'm still in this addictions, but it's the first crack where love came through, I can say, because
Oh, wow.
it's not supposed to happen. You're not supposed to be with the other side.
How did you meet? Did you just happen to wander into that territory and then it just happened? Like, how did you meet
She
him?
she wandered into a place where I was working, and we
Oh,
saw each other, and then we got together, and actually it was dangerous for both of us, to go and visit each other where we lived. It wasn't a good idea, and it wasn't something that you shared with people. But there was a love. Again, I'm not going to say it wasn't Romeo and Juliet. I'm not going to, but it was the first. When I look back, is the first crack where love entered this life, um,
okay.
because it broke down barriers. It broke down
Mm.
what it was. Again, there was a lot of dysfunction, there's a lot of alcohol, a lot of drugs, but it was the first crack where love entered. And
Wow.
so yeah, I went through that. I went through so many like challenging relationships, always searching in this boom bust kind of lifestyle. And there was always a search for freedom as well. I was always like, I've had so many jobs just over Brooks. I've had so many things that I just fell into, and there's so many things that I tried. And so fast forward after that, I'm really condensing it. Fast forward about 8 years after that, I had like a total breakdown. I was working in the family business, and I had a just complete breakdown around 27 or 28. I was just like completely lost. And so I think it was 2007. I thought, okay, let's run away from all your problems to somewhere sunny, and then everything will be fine. So I thought, okay, I'm going to my uncle moved to Australia in 1981, and I'd always, had this in my mind that he was there, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go there, and everything will be fine. I'll go to Australia, and everything will be fine. And what did I realize very quickly? That every problem, every piece of emptiness, every challenge that I faced got on every plane, train, and automobile wherever I went. The only one sort of added issue to that was I had a lot of money at the time because I'd sold a house just before the 2008 crash. So it was like crazy. Um, the amount had just gone up a crazy amount. So I had a lot of money. I went to Australia. Any Irish people that ever watch this, when you see that big yellow ball in the sun when you're Irish, you see it so rarely in Ireland. When you go there, that means you're on holiday. It means you're on holiday, and it means you get drunk. And so what happened was I went to Australia, and well, I nearly killed myself multiple
Oh
times.
my
I
gosh.
I basically drank a house. I think I've never said it quite that way, but I literally drank a house. I just went there, and I was just on a party nonstop. And so
Wow.
the physical body is an incredible, incredible thing, but there are certain limits, and I pushed this physical body to the absolute limit, especially the liver. And so it got to a point after 3 years there, something like that. I was in Fiji, and I'd been drinking for 6 weeks nonstop.
Wow.
And my body, so when I was drinking, I was fine. I was fine drinker. I never had any problems drinking. It was when I got sober, the problem started. Uh,
Oh,
it was really
yeah.
crazy. So I ended up leaving Fiji and went to New Zealand, and I ended up in hospital in Auckland. I ended up in hospital twice, but this second time was like shut down. It was like complete shutdown. It was like the decision was, do you live or do you die? Are you going
Wow.
to live or are you going to die? That was this. It was it. It was simple as that. It was going to be, do you live, do you die? And I said, okay, I'm going to live. And then that change started to be, so that was just around. Of course, I didn't know anything about all the stuff that I am aware and remembering of now. So just before 2012 this happened. There was an eclipse around that time in Australia. I remember having no idea I didn't even know what an eclipse was, but I remember now something happened on that eclipse, and so I chose to live. So then I decided, I'm trying to condense this. I decided okay, my body's the problem. I'm sick. If I fix my body, everything will be fine. So I want to get a six pack. I want to get healthy. So I do that. Okay, fix my body. Still all the same problems. Okay, the body's fixed, but I still don't feel right. Okay, it must be my mind because I know my body's good, but my mind's still messing me. Okay, so I'll start working with the mind. So I get into all sorts of personal development and working with the mind, law of attraction, all that sort of stuff, where you're
Hmm.
led. And
Yep.
then I start getting real results, let's say, and things were happening and it was amazing. And what happened, I'm still not happy. I was like, what's going on? So then I get into the emotional work and okay, I'm getting in touch with my emotions. And I mean, that took a long time for an Irish hardened ex-alcoholic. That's still a journey, I'll be honest. Um, I've come a long way on it. But yes, still, okay, I'm getting in touch with the emotions. My mind, I'm mastering my mind. My body is in good shape. I was still drinking at this time. I hadn't found, so there's still something missing. And then I met this angel, a literal angel, and she
Mm.
just appeared.
Mm.
She appeared in my life again, and I have to message her back actually. I can't wait to message her to tell her like how pivotal she was in my journey as a messenger. So she said to me,
Mm.
"You need to read the book Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now." I'm like, whatever. Okay.
Yes.
What's that?
Yes,
What's that?
that book, it's the second time in a week that I've been reminded. I read that book like 20 years ago. Well, whenever it first came out, I read that
Yes.
book. And in 1 week, you're the second person that has brought that book up to me. So there's something very important right in this moment that that book, it needs to be mentioned to the world. But anyways, go on. I didn't want to interrupt, but yeah, that's a powerful
Absolutely.
book, by the way.
It's a divine, that is a divine, offering. Whatever ideas you have about the author, I know well. You can divinity will come through, and
Hmm.
that is a yes. I read that. I read the first chapter, and I mean literally, I had no idea what I was reading. Didn't understand any of it, but I felt like I was getting emotional when I say it. I felt like I was, the electric socket. It was like plugged in for the first time, and I
Oh,
was,
wow.
oh,
Wow.
what is this? What is this? I've just read something I don't understand, and just electricity. It was felt like electricity, and it was just coursing through my body, and I was like, what is this? And then the addictive tendency. I said I have 20 years of addictions. I have to like, oh, I always say that because it's 13 to 33, but I had that addiction is still there. I just channel my addictions in more beneficial ways. There's still ones that we can talk about that are not beneficial, like these things and these things that we're on. But I've used the addictions to I can channel my addictive energy in beneficial
Right.
ways, let's say.
Right.
So yeah, but then the fire was lit. Oh my God. I hadn't read a book like all I hated school. I hated authority, everything like that. I left school at 16 and fell into every job that you could find. I was a poker player, Forex, I did IT, I did construction work. I mean, I've done so many jobs. I can't even tell you. We're condensing this. But so yeah, she told me read Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. It was incredible. Then she sent me a video of Abraham Hicks, and it was
Yep.
a and it was an Irish guy talking to Abraham, and the Irish guy was totally skeptical, and his points were amazing, and I'd never heard anything. I didn't know any of this word. And Abraham Hicks is talking to this Irish guy, and he was bringing up some really. I'd love to go back and watch. I even remember the name of the video. How many years ago that is? I remember.
She has
It was,
done so much content, like so much content. She's
and
done so much.
this would be more than 10 years ago when that was. I mean, they've been around for a long time. But I remember she showed me this video, and I'm like, so the Irish guy is countering everything that Abraham says. First time I watch it, I agree every single word that the Irish guy says, and I think everything that Abraham's saying is absolute bull. Can we, I don't know, do we have to censor ourselves? I'm
No,
Irish.
no, go ahead. Say what you
Okay,
want to say.
everything's complete bullshit that they say. I was like, what is this? What is this? So I'm like, yeah, whatever. The book, yes, it done something. This video, no. And then I don't know what happened. I can't tell you. I think it was a week or 2 weeks later, a complete 180. Something happened. I'm watching this video, and suddenly everything that the Irish guy was saying was didn't make sense, and everything Abraham said did make sense. And it was just like that quick. Like I'm hard-headed, but
Do
stubborn.
you think do you think that that maybe like so sometimes this is how I see it, like the codes come in, but they haven't like settled into your system yet. So they're like still
Yes.
penetrating to get to the heart. And so the codes hadn't reached the heart, but as soon as they hit the heart, you were like, woo, lit up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's like there's that journey. Yeah, it's that journey. And again, I still have this to a degree, even though I've opened up to like unimaginable experiences, I still filter that. And to a degree, I feel like there's some benefits in that, but absolutely what you said, yes, it's like that. And so that happened. And then the next thing she said, I think it might have been about after the same woman. I said to her, wow, this is incredible. Then she said, okay, you've listened to them. Now you need to listen to Bashar, Dar Darka. And then, I mean, those three
Bashar is
things,
like, wow, that's actually to be the third one that she recommended. She must have saw so much light in you. She's like, he's ready for the next because Bashar's no joke.
absolutely. And then, like, instantly, there was no resistance whatsoever when I was like that. It was just like, wow. It was like, this is it. And then, oh my God, since then, it has just been non-stop opening, expansion, merging with God, merging with the universe. I can basically say I woke up one day not knowing anything about anything. And the next day I wake up and I have all these shamanic lifetime memories. I'm doing shamanic work. I'm a breath worker. All of these things happen instantaneously. I haven't trained on planet Earth for anything, you know, technically. I did go to India and do yoga teacher training. Uh, but all this stuff just appears. It just appears.
So
Uh,
yeah, so speaking of this is a great segue. Remember, I said I wanted to ask you about a certain skill that you have. So
mm,
this is personal for me with you because in my lifetime, in my connections, every now and then I'll have someone bless me randomly with something. And years ago, when we first met through social media, you sent me light language, you sent me some clips, and you have done it actually recently. And I love it. And every time I listen to it, I definitely feel the codes and I feel the feelings. I don't obviously understand exactly what everything means, but I know that you're giving me something that we have a connection to. And I want you to do some light language, but I also want you at some point to explain how this came to you and what it means in your words.
okay, that's really good. So I might talk about this differently to others, and I'm just going to talk from what I feel and know within my being. That you don't understand it that's what it's meant to be. It's not meant to be understood. For me, there's people who say that they can translate it. For me, it's not about understanding. It's not about a definition. It's a feeling. It's a non-linear language. It speaks directly to the heart. We talked about there that filtering. Light language goes directly to the heart, and it doesn't need definition. It doesn't need meaning. It's a direct transmission of truth. And you sent it to yourself. You just happened to use me. I just happened I just happened to be the the Amazon boy that day. So it's a vibrational language that doesn't need translation. People can put translations on top of everything, but it's like any language. The words that we are using now only are words because we agree upon their meaning, but all it is sound. If we really think about it, every word that's coming out here is just words that we've assigned to a vibration, and we don't even know actually what each of us are understanding truly, but
Right.
we're understanding a language that we agree upon called English. And you might have, well, not might, will have a different experience actually of what I'm saying. And I have a different experience of what you're saying. And anyone listening to this will have a different experience. But we have a general agreement. So somewhere in the middle, there's some form of understanding. Vibrational language, light language, soul song doesn't have any of that. It's instantaneous, it's direct, and it's to the heart. And so when you say you don't understand it, for me, that's like, boom, that's it. That's it. when you've understood it, that means I feel we've put a layer of mind over something that doesn't need
Right.
mind. And
Oh,
again,
that's so great that's such a great explanation. And I have a point to make that I think can be connected to that. So many years ago, I went to see Sai Ma. She's a living guru that speaks and does work for the planet. And I went to visit her and do one of her retreats. And I had this really transformative experience while I was there. I was sitting in the audience and she was speaking to everybody. And I suddenly had the understanding, the knowingness that what she was saying to me, she was only saying that to me. So what she was speaking in that moment to that whole entire group, it was hundreds of people in this like seminar that she was holding. I realized that she was talking to each of us separately, but I could actually understand in another dimension understand that she was actually speaking something very separate to me, because and then I also was understanding simultaneously that it was where I was consciously and vibrationally is what I was able to grasp from her words. And it's not about better, worse, higher, lower. It's not about any of that. We're all on a journey. But where I was in that moment of that journey was the piece that I was pulling from her. But I was so unbelievable that I could actually understand that she was saying something different to every single person in the room. And it was like so profound when I had that experience. It was like a gift that she had given me in that moment. She like zapped me with her light. And she was like, here, Jill, I'm giving this to you. Now, what are you going to do with it? So right now, when you just spoke about light language, that came flooding back in is like whatever is supposed to happen, whatever that human is supposed to get from that vibrational sound, they are going to get exactly what that is. And that's surpassing all like space and time. Like it's not about this vibration or where we are or earth or anything. None of that even matters.
absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. What was the name of the reflector?
Saima,
Saima.
Saima,
Wow.
Sai,
Beautiful.
and then Maa.
Beautiful.
And she
Beautiful.
still exists. She's like one of the first female gurus to have an ashram, and it's
Wow.
I can't remember exactly where it's at, but she's a beautiful, beautiful light. She has helped me a lot on my beginnings of my journey, like when I probably around 2011 when I
Mm,
like came out even more than like was before. Like I feel like I've always been on the journey.
mm.
We all have, but I feel like 2011 was when I had like so many breakthroughs that it was like almost like I couldn't even digest them. It was so fast and so furious and so
Amazing.
amazing. I met this guy that I did a podcast with. You should actually check it out. His name is Dave Bennett.
Mm.
I used to work with him many, many, many years ago. Come to find out, he had this profound near death experience. I ran into him at a psychic festival, and
Wow.
he was right in the middle of talking about his near death experience, and the universe brought me in, and they're like, and he's like, "Hey, Jill Butler," and he like stopped his seminar to like talk to me. And then like I started going to all of his meetings. He would have meetings because he was in charge of the New York State chapter of near death experiences. And then
Mm.
after that, like he would have all these fantastical people come to his meetings, like that wrote all these books. And then like he like fast tracked me to the next version of myself. And then it was like
Wow.
so he's my friend still, and I had him on the podcast. He's going to come back on again. But
Beautiful.
he was on a show with Morgan Freeman, like when Morgan Freeman was talking about God. I don't remember if you know that series that he did, but he was actually on one of the episodes.
Very cool. Wow.
So, but
I'd,
he's one of my mentors. So yeah,
I'd love to offer, if you, with your permission, because I see, or I don't see, I am given patterns.
okay,
Patterns just become apparent. And it's just a little reframe. If
sure.
you, so it's the same as what was shared. So Saima was able to speak individually to you because Saima wasn't speaking to you. It's you speaking to you. Just using
It's so
Saima.
crazy.
it's you speaking to you, just using me sometimes. It's you speaking to you using your friend. And this is what's happening all of the time for everyone. And so it's you speaking to you. It's you speaking to you through a
And it's
different
funny,
filter
I
of
know
me.
that, but I don't know that. Like I know that as a fact,
Because it's fun to forget
but it's like a forgetting of that all the time. So it's so
all the
good for
time.
you to remind me of that fact because it's like we always get so externalized with everything. And this
Isn't it?
world is like set up to like teach us through that external, but then we get lost in the external and we're like, oh yeah, that's right. That was me all along. Duh.
And just to say, this one has that as well. And it's just like, as part of my role, just as a reflector, as Saima as a reflector, as your friend as a reflector, we're all reflecting each other, and we all use each other in the beautiful, most beautiful sense to see parts of ourselves, to hear parts of ourselves that would be impossible otherwise. So it's not about denying and saying, oh, it's all me, forget about that. No, it's amazing. This part of me gets to be reflected to me through this beautiful being in a way that is not possible if I'm sat on my own at the top of a mountain. There is, you know, there is beauty in that. There's definite times for that. But the householder yogis, we're the householder yogis now. We're the ones that are
Solar
not,
yogis.
yeah, we're the ones that are not, going off into the ashram. And it's very important the beings that are holding the vibration that are like separate from society. But we're the householder yogis. This is what Babaji talks about. And we're the householder yogis. We're the ones who's going to be in the world. We're the ones who's going to be in relationships, having jobs, having challenges, having families, doing all this stuff, and having these experiences that were kind of only for the mystics, only for those that went off on their journeys up into the Himalayas or wherever it happened to be.
Right.
And so it's yeah, it's a remembrance that it's you, everything is you reflecting back. And that's not the egoic you, of course, it's the you of you, the
The
real
soul.
you,
Yeah.
the true you. And so it's when you're reminded of that, then you begin to see the light shadow, those that I could just feel how you spoke about both of those beings. Then you begin to see, oh, that mentor is me. She's showing that part of me. She's saying that through and as me, and it looks like it's coming from her, but it's coming from me through her back to me. And
It's wild. It's wild.
yeah,
And it's kind of like mind efforty for a lot of people because it's like it's not egoic, but
no,
it feels egoic when you think of it through the brain. So when the
yes,
brain tries to process that, it can be very egoic. So creatures as myself are like, I don't want to think of it that way because I don't want to be egoic. But it's not about being egoic, and that's the tricky part. It's about understanding that oneness and understanding because the oneness is what everyone always talks about in spirituality, but it's like in the actualization of understanding that isn't about ego at all.
no.
And that's the thing. That's the tricky part.
Yes, it is. It is. And again, like, I'm a messenger. I'm a messenger, and I live the message as much as possible. But I'm 100% challenged by all of the messages that are delivered through this one as well. So it's not about like I'm like pontificating here in any way. Absolutely not. I'm challenged with this continuously, and actually being blissfully unaware before was so much easier when you know this and you deliver this message and then you see how the human acts. That's real. Being unaware was so much easier. But we could cycle back to the light language, if you like, because
Yes,
we
yes, yes, yes,
I just
please.
I just took us off on some crazy tangent, but there are no
No,
tangents.
no, no, it wasn't crazy. I'm really grateful for you actually reminding me. It's so important because you're reminding me, I'm reminding me through you to remember that, to
Go on.
remember that fact that it's me. So you're such a beautiful Irish part of me. I love that part of me.
Well, you don't call this the Jill Butler experience for nothing. Come on.
Well,
It's
it's so
it's in the
funny.
name. It's literally in the name. You think you're inviting guests on here? Come on, tell the truth. Oh, I love
Wow, you just helped me frame it in a whole new way, Martin. You just helped
it.
me frame it in a whole new way.
Yes, you did.
Yes, I did. Yeah, so let's
So,
go back to the light language because
so yeah, the light
I love
language. Yeah.
language.
So, in the middle of the journey, somewhere there, I had sobered up. 2014 I'd sobered up, and I was in a relationship that was like just wild, and like we'd actually met in Fiji where the first stuff, and when I was in hospital that time where I was going to die, I was with this beautiful lady, but we had this just tumultuous relationship, and we got together and we broke up, and we lived together in three countries, and we broke up again, and it was all sorts of wild love, and like, but this wild craziness, high and low, up and down. And so somewhere after I'd got sober, she's from British Columbia, Vancouver Island, very like
I've been
spiritual.
there. I've actually
Yeah.
been there. I used to work on a cruise ship, so I've actually been to that spot. That
Okay.
is a gorgeous, gorgeous place.
It's a hot, I've not actually been there, but that was what the story was. So I was ready to uh, go there. We were going to try again for the how many time, I don't know. I was in Ireland, and I was going there, and then last minute, I think I can't remember if I had flights booked or whatever, but anyway, it was like last second, and she broke it off with me, and I was just like heartbroken, and like, oh, everything was so like somehow I was
Oh,
meditating at that time, and I was feeling all this bliss, and everything was going well, but I'd still so much work to do on myself. Whatever experiences I had, I was like still like a baby. I'm still not even, I wouldn't even put myself a toddler now, but I was a baby then. And so she broke it off. So I was going east. I was going east to be part of this beautiful relationship, and then she broke it off, and then so the heartbreak, and then something within 2 or 3 days, I went through like this real dark moment, and then just something clicked. I'm going to the Middle East. And I don't know how it
wow.
happened. I don't know. I'm going to the Middle East. And so within a few days, I was on a plane to Dubai. Uh,
Wow.
yes. And so I get to Dubai, and I think at this time, I'm working in real estate in the most artificial place on the planet in real estate. And again, I want to condense it. The things that happened there, I cannot tell you how amazing they were. So many of the things that have sparked what is appearing now happened in Dubai, the most artificial, plastic place on earth. I mean, apart from the desert's one of the most incredible places you can ever go to meditate. It's the most no light pollution, no electronics, none of that.
Mm,
But Dubai in
mm.
itself is just like a pure, anyway. But I met my soulmate, my divine partner there. I had this realization about my shamanic lifetimes, my breath work, doing breath. Like I just woke up one day and yeah, this is what you do. We got together there. So in the place where I started giving breath work with zero earthly training, and just insane things were happening for people. It was just like overnight. It was literally overnight. But I was doing a session with this lady. I was receiving a session in the center with this lady, and I don't know her name, but she was from further far east. I can't remember exactly, Thailand or somewhere there. And she did some sort of thing with me. This was my first step into multidimensionality. Of course, I had Bashar and all of those things and Cryon and all of those, but she, in the middle of it, did a light language something. And I was like, what? Again, it stayed well up. Well, most of it went here, but some of it just sneaked in a little bit here. And then I forgot about it. So that was in 2015. Fast forward to it was 2015. So around about 2018, about 3 years later, nothing ever happened with it. Suddenly so I'm with my wife, we moved back to Europe, we'd been to India, we traveled all around the world, we've been to South America, Peru, all sorts of places, which I'm not, we don't need to go there. Um,
Next time, next time.
yeah, yes. Oh my God. Again, how many days do you have? Uh, so then this it started coming for me. It was like it wanted to appear. So vocal channeling had appeared for me while I was in Dubai, while I was sat at the kitchen table with my wife one morning, at the breakfast table. words wanted to come. And she's from Brazil, and she's a divine angel. She's literally angel in her name, Elis Angela. She's literally an angel, and she needs to be to live with this one. But she was like, they're so open to spirituality and channeling in Brazil. It's just so natural as compared
Normal, right?
to Catholic, Irish, like exorcism, demonic, feared this one. And she was just like, yeah, you're going to channel, go ahead. And anyway, so that started that. But the light language came, a couple of years later. But so we're just in this totally open relationship, totally free, everything. When this started to come, I was terrified. And I mean terrified. Like it was terror that this was coming
Really?
out of terror. That's all I can call it. And even with, at least with my beloved, I was terrified to let her hear it. And then,
Really?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I was hardened. I was like so closed and so
Wow, that's
fearful.
amazing that
So it
you
was
came
terror.
full circle with it all.
So yeah, so it started to come. I like, no, this is not happening. Shut it down. I was okay with vocal English language coming through and written stuff and all of the stuff with Ananda. We can talk about later. That was all coming, but this light language, no way, not a chance. I wasn't doing that. And then it was like, it was the same thing happened in the desert with the channeling. I was like, I couldn't stop it. I tried to stop it. I couldn't stop it. It was just like, okay, this is what you're doing. And then like it came, and I had to face my terror of sharing it with my wife. It was like terror. And then I shared it with her. And funnily enough, she is my like we are literally two parts of a soul. She
Mm,
holds the opposite. We're the complete opposite in everything. So
mm,
the amazing thing is, this light language doesn't do anything for her. Zero, nada, so nothing. She hears it, it's just like, oh, whatever, it's just sound, which is perfect. This is what I needed. I needed this to begin with. So she was just like, okay, go ahead, whatever. It's just some of this weird stuff he's doing. Go ahead, it's fine. Anyway, so it started coming, and then I started feeling comfortable with it, and then it just eventually my concrete heart cracked, and I started letting it come through, and then it just became spontaneous, and then around 2017, 2018, somewhere around there, I started publicly on my mission, and it started coming, and I started doing it on Facebook Live, and just everything just fell off, and I just allowed it to come, and ever since it appears, and so again, it's a vibrational language. It has no translation. Again, there will be others that share differently, and that is fine because there's infinite perspectives. There's
right.
multiple perspectives on infinite potential. I'm sharing what is my experience. Um, it's just instantaneous knowing, and any names that's put on it is a layer that for this one is not required. So it's an instantaneous vibrational language that you're speaking to yourself. And some people feel like my wife doesn't feel anything, and others will feel it like directly to the heart. And they'll like, you're speaking directly to me. I feel it. And so whether it does or whether it doesn't, it's fine. It's just you will either feel it or you don't.
Well,
Um,
I think what's really fantastical about this story about your your path with it is like I have like a plethora of human friends, okay? And I have a
yeah,
lot of male friends. And I have
yeah,
male friends from everywhere, everything from total heart open to total closed heart. So I have everything in between. And I feel like the ones that have the very closed hearts can learn from this because they can listen to this and be like, wow, like I don't feel like I have an open heart to any of this, but I'm interested in it. And
mm,
so I think being interested is like the first step of opening your heart. You know what
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean? It's just having
sure,
the interest. Like you read the books and then
yeah,
they sparked something in you. And
yes,
then you just kept going and walking further with it. And I feel like for anyone, male or female, because women can have very closed hearts as well, I feel like just that idea of surrender and like not being in control, because I think one of the things, at least in my humble opinion, that we're stepping into now and the next stages and phases of this life that we're all in is more of living in the moment, surrendering, and less control as a person and as humanity. So more fluid. And I
mm,
think that what you're discussing is living in that fluidity. and accepting that fluidity and not being so tightly woven into what something should be, what something's called, what box it comes from. Do I have to stay in this box? Can I, where can I be? And I
Mm,
feel like that's just being in surrender mode and just going and flowing. That's why with the show, I don't ever, every single person I've ever had on, I've not discussed at all what we're going to talk about at all. Like, just like you, just a couple things we spoke of for like 2 minutes. That's what, because to me, I want it to be organic. I
yes.
want it to be surrendered into whatever this now brings with me and that person. And how many people watch it, I don't care. I want, even if it's one person that watches this episode and it does something for one person where it might unlock something or make them feel a certain way that feels more connected and more unified with humanity, then
Yes.
that's it.
Yes.
Then
Beautiful.
that's
Yeah.
it.
This is it. I love it. Yeah. Really feel that and feel you and feel that, that expression that is moving through us. And I can speak, from the masculine perspective and to any, you um, challenges that may be facing someone who is feeling that dominant energy of masculine of control, because that control within me, woman, man, that masculine energy within woman or man is in its egoic sense, is it wants to control, it wants to fix, it wants to change, it wants to control. And that is a constant, still it is a constant journey, because there's certain elevated ways in which that can be, when that's elevated, that control allows you to hold powerful space, but not in a way that's rigid. It's like it's malleable, but it's strength, it's power. That's a real challenge, letting go. And so for any, you know, um, men, let's say, that maybe hear this and they've heard, or they've got someone's or someone sharing them things, and they're like, what is this? I would just really say to trust the timing as well, and not try and make anything happen, because the control, the fix, the change, trust the timing. And if you are, like, let's say, a partner, or is to give them all the time that they need, because you can no one wants to be pushed into anything. Life will explode us into whatever we need. But and this is a big challenge for all of us, especially I think in partnerships and stuff, and especially because the feminine and woman are much more open and much more advanced. It's just like, we just have to say it. It is the case. Um, Not in the absolute sense, but in the relative sense in the human world, like, just women are just much more connected to their spirit, to their hearts, and that's just a natural tendency. But the timing and allowing that being to go through it in their own timing, in their own way, it's so important, and it's so challenging for both sides. It doesn't matter masculine or feminine, man or woman, but allowing that timing and knowing that life doesn't make any mistakes. Life knows exactly the right moment to plant a seed. It knows the exact right moment and energy that bursts through the soil. It knows the exact direction to point towards the sun. It knows the exact amount of water and the exact time. And we are all part of that. We are all, seeds birthing this divine human blueprint. And the time, we can't force summer to be winter or winter to be spring. So
Right.
each of us have to allow and trust this perfect system. Because if we are in resistance to what is, and we think that these beings need to wake up, they need to come to where I am. That's like trying to tell nature, hurry up and grow. It's like trying to tell nature, I know better than you. And again, this is the masculine energy
Right.
that thinks it knows,
Right.
thinks it will fix it, thinks it can control, thinks it, I know it's on my schedule. I think all of us, it's a continual challenge for this one as well, but to trust the perfection of this. And in the broadest sense, we're not doing any of this. We think we are. We're not doing any of this. All of this is just happening. Everything is just happening. You're not doing anything. This is another controversial thing that comes through this. You don't create your reality. There's no creating your reality. And this was Abraham. You don't create your reality. You create your version of what is already there. You create a perspective on something that's always already there. You reveal what is already there. You don't create. This is the control masculine energy that thinks it can create something and control something and change something. Everything is just happening. It's just this. It's just this. All the things that we do is just to give us the illusion of control. We are being done.
We are being done.
We're being done. It's just a happening. We're just a happening. And we're dreaming that we're doing.
Yes, so true. So true. You're so wise, Martin. So wise.
Martin isn't. Martin isn't.
Yes, you are.
Martin is an open vehicle. You have to see Martin off the other side of this camera. Martin's a rascal. But yeah, no,
Love that word rascal. That's so cute. I love
I
that
u-
word rascal.
well, I use rascal in other ways. That was used in the cute Irish way. I use rascal in another sense because it's the cute little boy, the little. But I use it to, we talk about the
The
dark.
demon. Yeah, the demon rascal.
Absolutely, to not
So that
give
way
the power.
it's not making it so bad, because demon is bad and
Yes,
rascal is more like the trickster, like the jokester, the trickster, like the prankster, the
absolutely.
one that's causing the pranks.
Exactly, because we give so much power to the dark ones, to the elite. We give light to the elite. We give the powers that be. Think of all this language. All this language is set up to give your power away, and they are divinity showing you, okay, you want to give your power to me? Go on, bring it on. I'll show you what it is when you give me all the power. That's what happens, and it's all set up that way. And so the language is so key. That was something that came at the very beginning for Martin is like the language, how much
Yeah,
of the English language is set up. And I'll just go back to something that you said there, the etymology of the word demon. The
yeah,
language is set up that we little forgetful humans use, particularly the English language, against ourselves in the relative sense. So
yeah,
much of the language is set up to disempower ourselves. But the etymology of the word demon is daemon. And if you go back and back even before that, the origination of that word was like a spirit, like a guide, a guiding light, like what we would call guides now, or a spirit guide was that's where the word demon came from. And so the evolution of demon was
yeah.
before the fall of consciousness, you had a guardian spirit, or you had connection with these beings that worked through light. And when the fall of consciousness happened, it was like the light beings couldn't do the work, so we had to send in the demons. We had to send in the darkness. If you don't listen, it still happens now. If you don't listen to the light calling you, the same energy, which is just the oneness, the wholeness, the allness, will put on the guise of a demon, put on the guise of a darkness, put on the guise of a controller, a manipulator, an abuser, some form of energy to get your attention, for you to give attention to you through pain. Or you
I'm
can give it, you
suffering.
can
Yeah.
bring it or you can bring
Yeah.
attention to you through joy, but they're both the same when we go
Right.
back to the same thing. So I don't know how we got there. Um, just like a flow. I don't know. Keep me reined in if I go off too
No,
far.
this is great. This is perfect. This is
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah, we were talking about light language, and then
Okay.
we got into some other places, a little outside of that. But
Sure.
yeah, and let's not, before you leave, whenever I know I'm gonna leave this up to you, because I know you're a busy man and you got your family to deal with, and I don't want you to, you know,
We're good. We're
to be
good.
here too long.
Shit, the two angels will let me know when I have to, because although this looks like well, you can see look little bits of the illusion are
Letters.
breaking through. You see the illusion? It's all an illusion. We are living in a tiny home on wheels, what you would call a RV on your
RV.
side of the
Yeah.
pond, what I like to call a recreation vehicle. We have been since August. We're in Europe, and we've moved into a tiny little tiny home on wheels since August of 23. And yes, so this is our kitchen table, this is our meditation room, this is our studio, this is our everything. But no, we're good. We're good for that. They will let me know
But I
whenever.
do, like I said, I do, before you leave, please, we could end it with light language whenever we get to the end. just
Yes,
let's do the we'll end it with the light language because I really, really um
absolutely.
feel like yours is very special. I've heard a lot in my lifetime, but
Yes.
yours I really, really connect to deeply. Um so
And
yeah.
cycling back, why would you feel that is?
Well, I feel like we're all connected, obviously, because we are one, because you are a reflection of me. I am a reflection of you. Um, I believe I have set up the story and my existence to be very centered and connected to Ireland because I do have Irish Celtic roots. Not totally, not all of me, but I have some. And I've always like been very connected to the Druids and to
Mm,
all that energy. I feel like I'm very deeply inwoven in that. So I feel
mm,
like our energies are somehow intertwined into that. So, because when I very first started hearing you way back when on Facebook, I resonated deeply with you and your energy. You have such a kindness in your energy.
mm. I appreciate that. And I hear that and I really, really, really resonate with that. And you really connect with it because it's your voice and your sound and your vibration. It's you.
Yeah.
It's you. It's you.
Yeah.
Ah, and yes, so absolutely. Before we finish, it already came as you shared. It was like that whenever we come to a conclusion of our human words, that the light language is going to bring it all together, everything that was shared but not said in the silence. So before we end, yes, it's coming. So yeah, so tell me about your Irish heritage. I'd love to hear.
So I don't know a tremendous amount about it because I have two parents that are very have different European descents. So
Yeah.
my mom has she's actually half Ukrainian and half Polish. And
Okay.
then my dad has a whole bunch of things, which one of being Irish, Scottish,
Mm,
um, French Canadian Indian. So he has a
wow.
whole plethora of stuff. So he's like a
Yes.
real mutt, and then my mom's a 50-50 mutt. And then here comes the Jill Butler experience out of all
Come
that.
on. Come on. That's
So
amazing.
the two that I feel closest to and in my humanness and my human divineness is the indigenous. I feel very, very close to that. I've always very much worked with all the elements, so I'm very close to all the elements and I do stuff with them all the time. So the indigenous, and then would be the Celtic and the Druid, which the Druid is very element as well. So I
Mm,
feel like both of those two pieces of me are what came together to make me this human that you see.
mm. Thank you
And
for
in that sense, in that sense. So
thank
yeah.
you for coming together and being born.
Yeah, well thank you as well. we're doing
Thank us.
we're doing our
Thank
part. We're doing our part on the planet.
Yes.
We're doing it. We're
As
doing
you
this thing.
as you shared, there's a whole lot of I don't know if you're like there's a whole lot of Atlantean energy was coming through in that connection. I don't know if you've explored that
Oh,
or
so tell me what you feel. Yeah, I'd love to explore that.
so it's a lot to do with bringing together for so many Lemurian, Atlantean, these ancient um, societies and civilizations that brought through advanced spiritual technology and also, technology of the heart. And what the feeling is you and many others are bringing together so much of that wisdom from different aspects where because what happened there in Atlantis is that the technological side, and we're seeing reflections of now that the technological side became the god, not from the beginning. Originally it was amazing. It was powerful. But the technological side took over the spiritual side. And then on the Lemurian side, they didn't advance technologically, they advanced spiritually. And then so there wasn't, they came to these ends because there wasn't this balance. And then there is this feeling with you that you're bringing the best of all of these, bringing the best of these together in a perfect package so that the wisdom can be taken from all of these and brought in now so that it doesn't go too far that way. It doesn't go too far that way. We're in that middle space, that middle way, and all of that collective wisdom can be brought through so that we get it right this time. And we can't get it wrong.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like that. That's very
Yeah.
nice. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah.
Um, and that would give me a lot of clarity in the sense of I'm so much about balance. Like everything I talk about and everything I try to communicate about is always giving balance to
Yeah.
everything. So not too much on this side, not too much on this side. And so it's funny that you just kind of said that in a very etheric way because I
Yes.
feel like I'm always holding space for all the things in that divine neutrality way where it's
Yeah.
not like one isn't more special or better than the other, but
Yeah.
having one, like I always say, having one foot in the old world and one foot in the new world and trying to be able to hold that bridge for all of humanity with
That's
both
it.
feet in.
That yeah, that's what it exactly that. That's what it feels like with you. That's what it feels like, and it's so important to feel that because Martin can get pulled like to and fro massively, and has, and that's where that's where the addictive tendencies comes, and that's also where genius comes from. The like the gap between genius and insanity is wafer thin. So the addiction can become passion, you know, genius can become insanity. They're right beside it. They're both polarities of the same thing. And so
Right, right.
it's important that there's many beings like you to hold the space for the wildness of Martin and others like him.
Well, I'm very
Because
serious that if if you would like, I would like to at least once a month, if you can schedule me in, we could do this like you could come on for at least once a month, even if you want to more, but definitely once a month. Like we could
sure,
because I feel like we both have such a great banter with each other and we both have a plethora of understanding of so many things and can have lots to talk about, like lots of
sure.
experiences to bounce off of for
Let's
humanity.
let's experience that. Let's see what appears. And I would just like
Yeah.
to say that I know absolutely nothing. I just want to say this is the truth. I know absolutely nothing. There's many times in this life that I thought I knew things. I want to just make it clear. I know nothing. All I know is I know nothing. And in the moment when I know nothing, whatever wants to appear can come. The second I think I know something,
Because you're the empty vessel. I get it. I get
and
it.
but then there's so much trouble happens. So much trouble. Just ask my wife the second I know something.
Oh
Because
my God. Well,
no, yeah, it's like crazy.
how long have you been married, Martin?
So we met on the winter solstice of 2015, 21st of
Oh,
December 2015.
okay. Okay.
So I can't count whatever that is. Someone else can count that now. That is that it'll be 9 years this
20,
year. We're 24. Yeah, in
around
December it'll be nine
nine or
years.
10 years. Yeah.
Be
Wow.
9 years, yeah. And our little master being appeared 5 years ago. He just turned 5 in October.
Oh,
So he's 5.5
oh,
now. My two greatest teachers ever. I mean,
yeah, of
next to my
course.
family, they are just my constant. I'm in a constant master class and fail many times and flunk the class daily, but they are just like incredible teachers. So I said I was being a little bit we wanted to get this together on Saturdays. It's Boys' Day and it's Elise's day for just her for Mama's Day. And so we did get a little
Oh,
bit naughty and eat into that. But no,
oh
all was good. So
no.
I spent the day with Angelo. So my son's called Angelo and my wife's called Ines
Oh,
Angela. So I literally live with two angels and it is
oh,
needed. It's needed. But yeah, they're my
oh.
greatest teachers, absolute greatest teachers.
Well, you have the power of three, and I have the power of three because I have two kids. So I've had
Oh,
the
amazing.
power of three my whole life because I raised them alone. So it
Wow.
was the power of three. So when they went to bed every night, I literally said to them, by the power of three, watch over Kayla, Kyle, and me. And I said that to them every single night before they went to bed. And so the power
Mm.
of three watched over us. And so you have the power of three. So
Yes, we
that's a
do.
beautiful, that number, you can never go wrong. And two is powerful too, because anytime you have two, you can create more. So Yeah, so that's a really, that trinity that you got going on, that trinity angel energy is, and you're in a place so cool, Portugal, if you don't mind me saying. I hope it's okay that I
Yes.
said.
Yes.
But Portugal, what a beautiful, I've never been, but I've been drawn to Portugal since I was in my 20s and I haven't gotten there yet, but I'm getting my passport together. I'm gonna get my passport and I'm
Come,
gonna,
come. You're
yeah.
welcome anytime. So it's in the word.
Oh,
It's in the word Portugal. Portal. It's a portal. This is a
oh,
portal. It's very
oh,
connected with the Atlantean energy, of course, as well, because the remnants of Atlantis which are still there, which is the Azores Islands, which is Portuguese island, Madeira, the Canary Islands, and Cape Verde off the coast of Africa. Those are the remnants, physical remnants of Atlantis. This and of course the African coast. These were kind of the first places that when those who came east arrived in Portugal, North Africa, and then on their way to Egypt, and then those who went west ended up in South America and Mexico and all of those places. And so that it's a portal. It's a portal and it's an entryway to that, that what was the new world. It's an entryway, a portal. It was, that energy went through there. And of course, there's a lot of light and dark with that. But yeah, it's definitely a portal. And there's huge amount of people that are being called to specifically the southern coast of Portugal, for very specific purpose, planting the seeds for the new earth on this continent. And that's why we were called here, and very happy to be here. And many are called
wow.
to this space for various different reasons, but there's many, as seeds are being planted all over, but there's
Right.
specific purpose of what is appearing here. And so, of course, you're welcome home anytime.
Yes, well, this is my definitely my year that I'm going to be stepping into my travels. I have
Mm,
one child that is living in Colorado, and then my
mm,
son, my baby, just moved to Florida in the end
mm.
of November. So I am an empty nester, and now the
Ooh.
universe is like, it is time for you to spread your energy across the planet, Jill. So
Mm.
it's just a matter of me listening to the breadcrumbs and seeing and hearing and feeling. That's the most important one, the feeling where I'm supposed to go.
So have you, because everything's always with permission. Have you felt called anywhere else? Because I just,
Um, so in the summertime, I was called to go to the Northwest first, to the Northwest of this country.
hmm
And then so that was like a calling for like quick future. And I've been called to so many countries. Like I can't even
could
tell
you
you how many
share?
countries I've been.
Could you share a
But
few?
Brazil, the
Okay.
rainforest of Brazil is
Yep.
something that has called me since I was in my 20s. So I definitely have to get there. One of the first places I need to go is there. But why? Are you feeling something that you want to
Yes,
share?
yes, but no, I want to hear you. The way it's always guided to work is to not necessarily offer anything unless a door is open. So just share a few other places.
Okay. Um, so I definitely, like I said, Brazil, um, Portugal for sure. I've always wanted to go to Portugal. Um, I obviously have to get to Ireland. No, no,
Come
that's
on.
definitely a serious journey I have to take is Ireland. I'm just trying to think that the top few that come to me.
So interesting. I'm from
I just
Ireland.
want to hear
My
what you have
wife's
to
from
tell
Brazil.
me. Please tell me what you know.
But
Please, please.
I always feel like there's an energy that's calling, and I'm always like I always have to kind of check in because so this cosmic law of free will is it's a
No,
very
no,
effective.
no. I
It can't be
know.
broken. It cannot be broken. It can't be broken. If it appears, it appears. But there is definitely a calling towards, or just like an energy pulsating from the Himalayas, from India, Tibet.
Oh, yes, India, India. How did I forget India? Of course, India is on the top of my list.
Of course,
Why
it
did
is
I forget India?
because
I
this is
knew
what
I
we
was
do as
forgetting
humans.
something. That is
That's what
so
we do.
crazy that yes, the Himalayas. Like I have a lot of crystals from the Himalayas, And I have actually worked with a lot of humans in this lifetime that are connected to the Himalayas. I'm very
Yeah.
connected to Buddhism and all of that story. Okay, good. Thanks.
Yes. Yes.
Awesome.
It was like I don't I'm not very visual. I just get kind of feeling knowings, but it was like a pulsation, like there's a pulsation up there. But it's so funny that what you described and like what I was sharing with you, it's you and everything here is Martin appearing. My wife is from Brazil. I am from Ireland, and I am so called to recently to well to North Carolina and Florida. There's just really a pull to those places. I've been in Florida before many years ago, but yeah, my wife's from Brazil, I'm from Ireland, and you mentioned those first, and the United States
And then
Northwest
my
is
son is in Florida. Yeah,
yeah.
we do. There's so many, like, there's so many lines of energy that are like so crossed. And it's so funny when you first came back onto Facebook again, I was like, oh my gosh, we're gonna talk to each other. We're gonna work with each other. Like, I already saw
What?
it. Like, as soon as you came back on, I was like, oh, there he is. There he is again.
I
And
love
then
it.
and then
Thank
I
you.
saw you on Todd's. I was like, oh, he's doing them. He's doing shows, so he'll come on mine. Like, yes.
It was like I think I'd been out like a day or something. Because I was 2 years completely off everything, and I think it was like a day or 2 days, and Todd sent me a message. No, and I was like, it was there. I don't even know. It's been a whirlwind since I've come out there. But just one last thing that's been shown here as well is like, and this is for everyone, is like the Kundalini of the Earth moved in 2012 or thereabouts from the area of India and Tibet, and it moved to South America, to Peru, but that general area, Brazil, there. And so in the what we call the past, the spiritual wisdom and where people would go for pilgrimage and where people would go for spiritual nourishment was very much centered in that area where of Tibet and India and that those eastern, and you can see that energy since 2012 has moved to that southern part of America, so Brazil, Peru, and those sorts of areas. And there's something very key about those who are called to those areas to bridge that gap, because that's a continuous unfolding, that movement of the
Wow.
Kundalini of there, the epicenter for the future generations, that what would have been India, Tibet. It's not that that's not going to be anymore. It's just that center has moved more to the area of Peru, Brazil, all of that area. And it's important for those that are called, to get that calling to go to these places, that really follow that, because each of those who are doing that have codes that are strengthening that bridge between them, because no longer is there that separation of East and West. This is that merging of East and West, and that the prophecy of the eagle and the condor and the coming together of the East and West. And there's individuals that have had many lives on both of these, and like ancient civilizations.
Wow. And
And
that
there's
just,
yeah,
wow.
it's important that
Wow.
physically those who are called answer that call and go. It doesn't mean that you have to have some sort of wild mission. You're just, your presence there is important.
That that is amazing. Thank you, Martin, for sharing that. You just kind of gave me a full summation of like that just came back to like the whole eclipse thing that's going on, because we
Mm,
had the eclipse that went from the west to the east, or from the top to the bottom of the country. And now we're having it from Texas all the way up to where I am. And it's
mm.
so funny because I'm actually in full coverage. I'm in a
Wow.
spot in Syracuse, New York, that's in full coverage of the eclipse in April. And
Wow.
when you just said that whole bridging, I
Mm.
just felt the energy of me having to be at the top, and then yeah, and then the bottom, like the Texas, like wow, like I just got that whole picture, like the whole thing just came in for me,
So
the
that's going.
whole picture of that.
Wow. So it's
Wow.
going from southwest to northeast. Is that right? This one?
Yeah, it's going
So
from
that's coming.
Texas
Mm-hmm.
all the way up. The full coverage is going to be from Texas all the
Okay.
way up to Canada. So it's going to pass
Mm.
all the way through like Ohio and that way, and then it's going to go straight through to up to New York State, and then all the way through to Canada.
Wow.
So
So
that is going to be,
April, yeah,
yeah.
that's 8 or something. When is that?
So it's going to be April 8th
Yeah.
is that's the full solar eclipse. And the crazy thing, Martin, talk about synchronicities, okay? So today is the 23rd. It's my
Hmm.
favorite number. I told you that. The 23rd. When the eclipse comes through Syracuse, New York, check this out. This is crazy. You know how I told you the power of three, right? It's coming through at 3:23.
Mhm.
So it's taking all of my numbers that are connected to my heart. And
Wow.
that's when the solar eclipse is coming through Syracuse, New York, where I live. I mean, I
Wow.
live 5 minutes from Syracuse. Like I can see Syracuse from my house. That's how close it is to me.
Wow. You better get your bags packed for after that. I think you're going to be after that. You're going to be sent on a fun journey, I feel.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that because I've been also very guided that between Monday, the lunar eclipse, and then between April 8th, the solar eclipse, my life is going to be like totally spun in like
It feels
some
like
crazy different direction that I'm like, you better
that.
hold on, Jill, because as soon as those eclipses happen, it's going to open something that you're going to be able to do that you haven't had the opportunity to.
Mm.
So
So
I'm fully ready. I got my seatbelt on. I'm ready to go.
I love it. I love it. Wow, that's powerful. As I say, I knew nothing about eclipses or any of this stuff. I knew nothing. Not I still don't know anything, but I'm aware of more of that. But I remember in 2011 something, or I think it was I would need to check exact date. Something had happened, and it was a full. I think it was a full solar eclipse at that time. I need to check it, but there was some form of eclipse at that time, and that definitely had a huge impact. Although it was years before I even knew what that was. So it's powerful, but there seems to be a huge, with the intensity of attention, that's what gives meaning to anything. And when there is a conglomeration of attention of conscious beings on a certain event or a certain idea, that gives it the power that it has. Everything is neutral, like you're this
Right, right,
neutrality
right,
holder.
right.
Everything is neutral, but our attention and our intention on anything gives it the meaning and the impact that it has for each individual. But there's something feels very powerful about this, and there is an energy behind it. There is seems like a lot of attention and intention. So let's see. Hold on to your hats.
Yeah, I feel like I feel as a planet, we're going to shift tremendously after April 8th. So it's going to be it's going to be like a breakthrough for the planet, not just for a person or a collective, but I feel for the whole entire planet, it's going to be a humongous shifting point. And I
Mhm.
feel like it's going to be powerful and it's going to be transforming. That's what comes through for me. That's what my inner inner self, my inner feeling self
Mm.
says.
Wow.
My spirit self.
So it's usually 2 weeks before is the other. So the lunar eclipse when is that happening? Is that soon or is that
So
maybe a
Monday
week?
the 25th, Monday the 25th of March,
Oh,
which
two
is
days
two
then.
days from now,
That's the
2 days
lunar
from
eclipse.
that's the lunar eclipse.
Oh,
So that's
wow.
the one that's going to be for the moon. Or no, that's the lunar one, and then the 8th is the solar one.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, because they're
So
usually
it's
kind
going
of
to be a
2 weeks apart.
couple weeks of, lots of feeling a lot of different things. And that's a quick question that I have for you is with all that's going on and all that's being felt, no matter where we're all at, just out of curiosity, what kind of things have been opening up for you and your spidey skills and your understandings and your newness of the next versions of you? What have you
Hmm.
been feeling?
So over this period of like couple of years where I was just like in the wilderness in the desert on the internet is what I share. I had this just continuous death process. I mean, I've had this since I began, but it intensified from 2020, 2021, like this continuous death. And I don't know if you've had guests on that talk about like walk-ins and that idea. Have you had you?
Yeah, yeah. I've talked to people about that for sure.
Yeah. So in that 2015 time when I just opened to multidimensional, I had this, this term came to me again, completely new, hadn't a clue what any of it meant. And I kind of thought, oh, I wonder, is that what happened to me? Because it's just like this incredible, ridiculous change happened to me overnight. And then more and more, I got to see that wasn't the case for this one. But what was happened and what has accelerated, especially since 2021, is this soul merging. So I've had soul, rather than a walk-in is like the general idea is one soul comes in, one soul leaves. That's the general
Right.
idea. There's various ways in which that can be talked about. But what I've been having and what has been appearing for this one is that this continuous soul merging. So rather than one soul leaving, another one coming in, I've just been having this continuous merging of aspects. So like I'll it hasn't been happening recently, so I'll not say hope. Um, like I would just this has been happening for years. We'll just be sat at the table and I'll just be hit with an energy and I'm just frozen in stasis. And this energy courses through my being. And then other aspects will just come in and merge. And I'll be in a state of just like ecstasy and bliss. And then so that's been happening continuously. Um, excuse me. There's been this merging. And so that I share that is because that is just reflective of what is coming online for all of us. So Gaia is her, so there's infinite potentials, infinite perspectives of the whole that is. But in a relative sense, we have Earth and we have all of these humans and whatever they call themselves or think themselves, we can just say it, boil it down to human beings. And they're all multidimensional beings. The Earth is a multidimensional being, the sun's a multidimensional being. And this merging is becoming more accelerated. So rather than one going in, one going out, all of them are coming in and all time has been just flattened out and the idea of linear time has just been seen as it's just been a tool that we've been using. And so this merging that is happening on every level. So it can be quite a shock for the consciousness when and beings this can be happening to someone without them having any conscious awareness of what's happening. It can be happening in dream time. And so we are all becoming aware more fully multidimensionally. And again, the big people that we call mm, asleep, that this is happening to continuously. And so it's a merging of self that's happening more and more. It's happening on the planet. And so as a merging of self, there is a squeezing, but not necessarily of souls leaving. It's a squeezing of that which doesn't fit into the rigid sense of I am a little person needing to ascend to this fifth dimension. And once
Yes,
I
yes,
event
yes.
happens, then I'm going to be good. Then everything's going to be good, and this event's going to happen, or this savior's going to come, or this all
Right,
these
right,
ideas
right.
that are bandied around. And it's like, no, the fullness of our being is merging and it's become apparent, and the squeezing is just squeezing out any of those old false ideas of separation, of limitation, of lack, of I'm just this little me, this little I. So that's what has been appearing. I've been dropping into states where there's just no I, no me. Like in morning sitting, there's a disappearance of any sense of a person, and there's just nothingness. And there's an appearance then of a body, and it's seen that this body is just made of thought. It's seen that this whole world and every universe is just made of thought. Everything is mental, and that is this is the whole nature. This is just a dream of God. And so we're merging as God. But it doesn't take away from the individual, it doesn't take away from the role and everything that we're playing out here. It's revealing more of that, and we're being offered an opportunity to really open up to all of those potentials and get squeezed in all the ways that are anything other than that. And it will happen its own perfect timing for each one. And everyone has their own flavor and own um, way of seeing this. And what is offered here is just one perspective on infinite potential.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting the way that you describe that. My friend Linda Good McGillis, I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she's
Yeah.
actually been on my podcast a few times, and she's I always call her an oracle, and she gets mad. She's like, "Don't call me an oracle," but she is like an oracle. I mean, she's amazing. Anyways,
Wow.
her when she comes on, she talks about the mirrors closing in on you, so you
Mm,
don't have anywhere to hide from yourself. And so like so I kind of see it in sort of layman's terms, like all of our incarnations that we've been jumping into and out of all the time to when we need them. Now there's not going to be jumping in and out, like you
mm.
said. It's going to be a merging of all of our incarnations into one being. And
Yeah.
so
Yes.
taking on all those stories. And that's why it's so important for people to recognize the shadow and be friends with it, because all
100%.
of those stories have so much shadow in them, and you have to face it. Like you have to face all the ancestral wounds, all
Mm.
the stuff that you may have done or not done, or participated
Yeah.
in or not participated in, or choices you made. And you have to like reconcile all of it, and you have to realize that you're everything, and it's
Yes.
okay. It's always okay.
Yes. And I mean, the last few years, we got like the like the hyper dose of that. Like since 2020, we had the hyper dose of polarization and like, this separation, and then so that just brought up everything. And like what you're, yeah, that's exactly how I've experienced it, what you're sharing there. And that process is challenging one. It's not easy, but somehow, because Martin had been to the depth of darkness, the darkness was not as much of a challenge. Facing the darkness, owning the darkness, embracing the darkness, the challenge more so was is owning the light, is owning the, so everyone will have their own, part of this, and more of a challenge owning the light, being comfortable in the dark. And again, there'll be people that's comfortable in the light, and there'll be people comfortable in the dark, and you're, kind of one of those ones is bridging this in the middle to bring us in from the wildernesses. And yeah, it's
Yeah,
important that,
I've had very, very close people that have done tremendous work in the dark, and I've seen it, like with no judgment. Like I've seen it. Like I've seen the work they've done in the dark. And I'm like, wow. Because like I was raised Catholic, and now my parents don't, they don't participate in that religion anymore. But like I was raised to understand is like the demons and the angels, and you know what I mean? Like all of that diversity of like good and bad. But then as I started to grow and understand and evolve, I realized obviously that there was something in everything, and realized more of what my work was. But I do have a couple like people that are close to me in my life that are masters at the shadow, and I'm like, wow, like you have done everything in the shadow. Like, I'm pretty amazed that you're still alive. Like, and if you listen to Todd sometimes, when Todd talks about his shadows, I'm like, how did you survive that, Fred? Like, at least two times he came on. He's come on like three times, but at least two times he went into his whole past like life, and he went into some depths. And it's amazing. Like how deep people go. And like
yeah,
I went into some deep shadows like when I was in my early 20s, and I just decided I didn't want to work from that angle. Like that wasn't going to be my angle of,
yeah,
reflection.
yes,
But I did have to really deeply go into it in order
yes,
to be able to be that divine neutrality of understanding both, and being
yeah,
able to hold space in both, because there has to be a trust in
absolutely.
a person that holds space for both. You have to have trust on both sides.
Absolutely. And that cycles back to, what you were sharing at the beginning, and that the one thing that I see that is, it's very important, everyone is divinely blueprinted for their role, whether it's in the
Right,
dark or the light, or
right, right,
uh,
right.
holding that middle space. But the one thing that I have seen that could be and I've seen the results of it, is that, let's say those that they're divinely blueprinted to hold that place of the light, that completely, like you said at the start, completely deny any potentiality of the darkness within them. That is I've seen that, and I've seen the, might sound a bit like over the top, but the destructive potential of that is that they're on their role, and they're here to hold the light, and that is so important. But when they are in complete denial and absolutely have no, I've had people tell me they come from absolute pure light and they have never had a dark incarnate. They've never touched a darkness does not exist. That is no part of me, and I have no part of that. This is all a mistake. This is not for me. And with greatest love for them, I have seen what the potential of that is. And again, it's just that we've all got a role, and it's just it's like if let's say Todd or anybody else that's on that, you know, tendency towards holding the shadow, if they were to just stay there and it happens, you see the results of it. If they're to stay there and just there's no recognition of the light at all, then they don't get to serve their purpose either. It's like that we have to be our role, but we have to see that there are polarities and it's part of everyone. And just because your role in this one is to hold the light, if you can you don't well you can do whatever you want, but if you
Freedom of
deny the
choice.
possible,
Yeah.
yes, I just see that I don't see it so much on I see it more. Maybe that's because I have that tendency as well. I see it more. So it could be a tainted vision, but I see that there's more of the tendency to that than there is to someone who's been to the depths. Like some of the most compassionate, open-hearted people I've ever
Oh
met
yeah.
are the people who have been in the deepest darks. And some
Yeah.
of the most shallow, again, this is a little bit of a judgment, I have to say. There's because can't know everything. But when it's just in that band of I'm here to hold the light, which is true, it's absolutely true. But if there's no willingness and no desire, and every time it appears, it's just like I'm just going to put that aside and we'll just move on. It
Well, yeah,
it doesn't work.
it's
It
said
doesn't
to
work.
it speaks to me that it's a sense of denial. Because
Yes.
if you think about you've been incarnated 100, 1,000, who knows how many times, do you really think that you didn't kill somebody, or you didn't rape somebody, or you didn't have a like didn't do something terrible? Come on, like, even if you can't go back and go to your past lives, because some of us and most of us can't go back to other lives in
Mm,
those sense. Maybe it's too painful, maybe we just don't want to recollect, but we all know deep down inside that we've been everything. So if we've been everything, to say that we don't acknowledge the dark in some sort of beautiful teacher way, then it's denying a part of yourself, which then you're not having the full expression of yourself. So then
that's
it's like being a half human. It's like it's another separation of sorts. And
yes.
like we're holding space for a new consciousness that is not about this or that, but of all inclusivity, because we're always going to have some tiny bits of black and white, because the teaching way that it's taught on earth is through that lens. So we're always going to have some of that. And that's
Yes.
understandable. It's never going to leave probably this plane of existence that we're on. But
Mm.
to the point that we're coming out of the Iron Age, I mean, thank goodness that we've grown out of that, because boy, that was a heavy time.
And yeah, and the extreme of that, then which you see a lot now, then when that's taken to its extreme, then you have this good versus evil, this God versus the devil, God versus that battle. When you get that taken to extremes, then that is just like, oh my God, it's so far away, and it's good. It talks to the human ego, the spiritual ego, so much. So then you've got the chosen ones, you've got the special ones, you've got
Yeah.
the freedom fighters, and the ones that's like God wins. All of this stuff is like God. Who is God in competition with? Come on, it's just so. But make a joke about it, but it's like very prevalent. It's very prevalent, and when that's taken
Well,
to an
no, and
extreme,
it's tricky for people like you and I, because we're sort of lumped in the spiritual
yeah,
groupish type
yeah,
of things. And
yeah,
so it's hard, because when you're in that like group or whatever, collective, whatever you want to call it, it's you do, people look at you kind of like, oh, that's just a do-gooder. She just sees everything as this and that. And it's like, no, like, I'm a bridge holder. Like, I'll be the first to say, I'm a space holder. It's not an accident my last name is Butler. Butlers in European times were holding down the forts for the mansions. They were holding everything together. And that's what my energy is. It's the
mhm.
energy of the universal butler of life, of existence. And
Wow,
so, yeah, like, that's, like, That's everything. That's not one thing. That's not a couple of things. That's all of the different, shades. It holds
Mm,
space for all the shades and all the hues.
yes.
And I wish there was more humans that wanted to be like in that space. Just
Yeah.
so, because I don't know, like I don't it's peculiar. I feel like there is still a big divisiveness in these
Yeah.
worlds. Like, and it's tricky.
It's really tricky because, like what you just said there, it's absolutely true that when we focus on the light, when we focus on the truth, when we focus on who we truly are, that's it's true. It's true. In the purest sense, there is only this. There is only the truth. There is no, separation. It's just that it gets egoized. It gets spiritual egoized with I'm here as a special one to be the light, to vanquish the darkness. And you know that's where it becomes ego, so but the again, it's the role is true, and it's like it's focusing and having our attention on the truth of who we are is not touched by any darkness. In the absolute
Yeah.
sense, it's not touched by any darkness, and it never was, and it never will be. And in the relative sense, there is this polarity. It's like the Hermetic teachings, the pendulum will swing always. There's an infinite number of causes and effects that will always play out. And the master doesn't try and stop the pendulum and doesn't try and deny that the pendulum will swing in this dimension, because it's the very nature of this dimension for the pendulum to swing from cause and effect and here and there and dark and light. What the master does is step itself up above the pendulum swing, not stop the pendulum swing. It just takes its attention upwards to see the pendulum swing.
Both
And
sides.
yes, and the effects can still be played out on the body of someone that can be seeing, but they're not being the effect is of all the causes that ever was will play out on the body and play out in the world, but the being that has expanded their consciousness isn't taken to and fro by that pendulum swing. Things can happen in the body. There can be war and they're in peace. There can be chaos and they're in stillness. That's what we're being called to. This expansion is not to stop. The event is the pendulum stops swinging. Come on.
No.
It's like all the causes that ever was are not going to do any more effects. So I'm going to have this solar flash and then everything's good. This savior is going to, and then
I know, I
everything's going
know,
to
I
be
know,
fine.
I know.
It's like,
That
okay, we're
that
going to
whole
cut off
thing,
the
I
pendulum.
know.
This really
I
gets
know.
really gets to this
But
because
that's
it's
but that
the
that's
consciousness.
also that also feels a bit, not to be judgy, but it also feels a bit immature of humanity to be like, oh, this light is gonna come and it's
Yeah,
gonna magically transport us to be better people that we could have done all by ourselves. Like, we don't need some light in the sky to zap us. I
yes,
know biblically they talk about this, but like so much of the Bible and so much of the spiritual teachings were encoded. They weren't
yes,
literal, they were encoded. And so they were
absolutely.
talking about the energies that are coming through now, not a one time deal, not like a one time fits all or one size fits all. It's like, no, 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 it's not that at all. It's about a cumulative progression. Everything is a cycle and a progression, and it
Yes,
has to take the time. So, like you said, to seed, to be watered, to grow, to cultivate, and then to perk through the earth and show
yeah.
its flower. That's not going to happen in one session. Not That's not the way how things work.
Yes. In the relative sense, no, it isn't. Oh, so I've just got my angel prompt now. So I think but I absolutely agree. I am totally with you. And I just got a little prod
Okay.
from the angels. So I'm totally with you and totally feel that. And so in a relative sense, that's yeah, nothing happens. But of course, in the absolute sense, again, this is the paradoxical. In the absolute sense, it is. The event is always eventing. It is always here. There is never a moment when we are not. There's never something that has, all of this is a dream of the creator, and we just get to play it out and we get to play a role. And if we follow that, we get to choose what role we get to uncover and express, and the infinite divinity that is gets to experience and express itself through each of us in a unique way. And this is the gift of this human life. And this is the summation of our interaction today. Kia tarayawa makito ai shasatate kirawa amayete yanatu ushusute imaki yaturaya yakiona ya pirekatu yasita ha yaturayam yatira hey yakite amaye shesato yinaraka i yasato hai yapatu u yanaki yana hitwa se yatitara aki shushusa art i yamakata ushusate i yanata i yawarate Hannamaye tu kuidate saraikyata hietiwai. Shamanaki wayati rawa siatwai. Yamai tuasiate shusa shusa.
Wow. 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 Thank you, Martin. We are
Thank
going
you.
to do this again. We are
Yes,
going to do this
let's be
again.
it.
I
Let's
promise
be
you
it.
it's happening.
Let's be it. Let's be it. I'm looking inward to that very much.
Mm. Thank you, Martin. Have a great day.
Thank you for this Jill Butler experience. These angels, okay, they're good. They're laughing. Thank you for expressing this and bringing this together. And it has been a beautiful Jill Butler experience. And look forward to being here again. Love you.
Yes. Bye, Martin. We'll talk
Ciao.
soon. Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.